What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to this video here called Why I'm Moving Back to Iceland After 10 Years in the United States. So, this really got my attention. I think as an American, this got my attention. Because, here in the US, we like to say that this is the greatest country in the world and that the United States is the best place to live. But if that's true, why is this person leaving? She moved to the US and now she decided she really doesn't like it here. So today, I really want to check this out and hear her reasons for leaving. So let's take a look.
So, when I tell Icelandic people of my experience from having given birth here in the States, they usually don't even believe how bad it is.
Oh, oh boy. Okay. So that's what it is. That's okay. Now I'm really curious because I've heard that the American healthcare system is pretty crazy. I have a wife. I have children, so I've gone through the process of like what it's like to give birth in an American hospital in the American healthcare system. I know all about that stuff. For us, it's just normal. For her, it it sounds like she's been traumatized or something.
It is inhumane how pregnant women are treated here. And it is so outlandishly cruel that, the things that
Oh
happen
my
to me
god.
would simply never happen in Iceland to anyone ever. And it's actually
Oh my god. Jeez. I feel bad for her. Like I I feel sorry for her. Like I'm upset that this happened and that she had such a bad experience. Um Me and my wife, the whole process of giving birth in the US, it costs a lot of money. That was the biggest stress for us, how much it costs. Other than that, it went pretty smoothly, I would say. I guess it depends on what hospital you go to, because like every hospital is so different, not just with what doctors are available, but what kind of their healthcare providers, what kind of healthcare insurance they accept, what they can do for you. A lot. It's a lot more than just the treatment that's available. There's a lot more, bull crap that you got to put up with. So, yeah, I didn't know this was going to be like about healthcare. Um, but I've heard that our healthcare system is crazy. So, I am interested in this.
pretty routine what happened to me. So, the thing that you would need to understand if you don't live in the US, if you live in a country that actually care for its people,
Oh, oh boy. Oh boy. You know what? Maybe this is good. It's kind of painful. Because I'm an American. I love my country. Right now I don't even want to get into politics and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff going on right now that Americans should not be proud of. Um, and our healthcare and stuff like that, education. I know there's stuff that we could do way better, but it still hurts. Um, Maybe because it's true. Maybe that's why it hurts. Because there's truth to it when she's like, oh, a country that doesn't care for its people. Um, okay.
is that in America, health insurance is privatized, and without it, you have no access to healthcare.
Yes. So this is totally normal for Americans. We don't know any other way. You need health insurance. if you are in the United States, most people get it through their job, where part of your paycheck pays your employer takes that money and provides you with healthcare benefits, a healthcare insurance plan, which you then take to the hospital and you show them your information and they'll treat you. And when you need procedures to see the doctor, when you need healthcare, your insurance helps to pay for some of it. Sometimes sometimes it pays for all of it. Sometimes it pays for none of it. It's kind of confusing, but it's like any insurance. When you need it, it's there to help pay for something.
You can go to the emergency room. They will make sure you're not dying. And if you're not dying, they will discharge you because you have no means of paying for treatment. They will bill you, but people ignore that bill.
That's true in the U.S. Like if you go to a emergency room, they legally have to help you, but after that, I've never been in that situation. Like without healthcare, thankfully. There's Americans who don't have healthcare, and they will avoid calling an ambulance. They will avoid if they don't have insurance, they won't go see the doctor because if you don't have insurance helping you pay, the cost of healthcare is outrageous. It's already crazy with insurance. Without it, um, yeah, like giving birth, for example. If you didn't have healthcare insurance and you gave birth, it could be like $40,000 or something. Um, Instead, for me, it ended up being like 6,000. Still insane. Insane. Yeah, like 6, 7,000. Yeah, you have to save up for it. You got to pay it off like a bill. In payments, payment plans, all this stuff. I guess in other parts of the world, it's not like that. That's what I'm understanding, I guess.
But you have no access to primary care or regular treatment. If you fill certain conditions, you can go on Medicaid, but if you don't fulfill those conditions, if you fall into like the middle class where you make too much to get help, but you don't make enough to have health insurance, you're just fucked.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, she understands the American healthcare system. That's for sure. I can confirm. It's kind of weird because if you're very, very poor in the US, the government actually might help you, might get you on Medicare, might provide you with healthcare coverage. The government only does that if you are at, in the absolute poorest bracket. If you're rich, you don't really care about you can pay for private healthcare insurance. You can pay for the best healthcare insurance plans. You can pay the biggest premiums and be totally covered. And you're rich. It does whatever happens, you can probably pay for it if you. And then there's a lot of people in the middle where if you don't have a job, you could buy healthcare from the government, which is insanely expensive. Most people can't afford that. Most people need healthcare insurance from their job. You need it. If you don't have a job, you are in a lot of trouble. It's scary. It's scary because you're not making any money, but it's scary because you don't have your healthcare insurance. It's terrifying, and it's not a good system, but we just think it's normal. I don't know how to explain it. We don't know any other way. So it's just all normal to us. That's just how it is.
I had health insurance, but in America, you have health insurance through your employer. So if you have a job and you're full time, you qualify for benefits. So you have the extreme good fortune of getting to pay hundreds of dollars a month that is deducted directly out of your paycheck to have health insurance.
I guess in a lot of other countries, like in Europe, maybe Iceland, I don't know. Doesn't the government pay for a lot of it or all of it or right? Like your taxes pay for your healthcare? I think a lot of countries do it like that. For some reason we don't do that. I don't know why. We have this convoluted crazy system instead.
Health insurance does not pay your whole medical bill, by the way. It's basically just your ticket to go see the doctor and get a bill.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you need to prove that you have healthcare insurance. Then, whatever, you see the doctor, you get your surgery, your medicine, then your healthcare insurance pays for some of it if it's covered. If. And then you have to pay the rest, which comes in a bill in the mail.
I, at 19 weeks pregnant, was diagnosed with preeclampsia, which is incredibly early, toxemia. I had blood pressure of 165 over 98. It was completely uncontrollable. It would climb up, the lower values would climb up, and we were having a very hard time keeping it under control. Protein in my urine, all those good things.
That's terrifying. She had horrible luck. That's horrible. That's terrifying. So she had preeclampsia, which is a dangerous condition some pregnant women get. And she's in the US, so she has to find out if that condition is covered by her insurance.
OB told me to get into bed and to stay there. I wasn't able to do that, because in the United States, when you're pregnant, if you're lucky enough, you might qualify for something called the FMLA, which is basically protected time away from your work where they cannot fire you.
Yeah, I think in other countries women are given time off. Are you given time off before you give birth? Because in the US, women work up until the day you give birth, which sounds kind of crazy when I say it out loud. If you're, like she said, if you're lucky, if you have the right qualifications, you can not work and they won't fire you. That doesn't mean you're going to get paid, but they won't fire you. That's like the best we have.
Or take your benefits away. You only get 12 weeks of that. And I was on week then 20, which means that if I had gone on FMLA, I would have used up every single day that I had, that I was planning to use after giving birth to spend time at home with my baby, just to lay in bed. And I would have ran out of it on week 32 of my pregnancy, and I would have had to go back to work.
So in the US, women only get like 2 or 3 months of maternity leave when your baby is born. Sounds like she was using that time before the birth because she was sick, which makes sense. But she had to go back to work sick in order to save up her days and not use them all, because you want to use them when your baby is born. Yeah. Yeah. My wife didn't go through any of this kind of thing, but I can only imagine how frustrating and frankly horrifying this situation would be, feeling like you have to go work even though you're sick, even though it's dangerous, or else you'll lose your job. Then you'll lose your health insurance, and then you're totally screwed. So it feels like you're trapped.
Well, why would I have to go back to work? Well, because my health insurance depended on me having that job.
Yes.
If I do not have health insurance, that would have meant that I simply do not have a doctor anymore. I would have had to give birth in the emergency room with no prenatal care. Planned Parenthood may have taken pity on me. Point is, I would have lost my health care access. So I had to go to work. And I worked throughout my pregnancy.
What an awful situation. Yeah. I'm not shocked. I haven't heard of this exact situation before, but I'm not shocked by any means. Americans have to do the craziest things with regards to healthcare to keep our coverage. And then, like I was saying, when you go get healthcare, you find out if they even accept your healthcare. Because there's lots of different types of healthcare, lots of different companies, and hospitals only accept certain ones that are in their network and stuff. And then you got to pay enough money before the healthcare kicks in. There's a lot. Like it even took me a long time to learn all this.
And I was induced prematurely because my blood pressure hit like 195 over 168. So I had an emergency induction and I had a premature baby that went to the NICU. By the time that
The NICU. Another thing I didn't experience, the NICU for premature babies. That's going to be expensive. It doesn't it sucks because it's like there were a lot of things when me and my wife during the birth, I was stressed about how much things would cost. I was stressed about the medicine they want to use, the epidural, the room. They charge you for the room, for the bed. And I was stressed about a lot of that when that shouldn't be stuff you're worrying about during birth. You have enough to worry about. You, the fact that Americans have to worry about the money, how much everything costs, like oh, can we go home after like a day? Because if we stay two nights, it's gonna be another $1,000, or just the stupidest things you have to worry about.
This happened, I had missed out on so much work that almost all of my 12 weeks were used up. So I had to go back to work in a diaper. And by the way, those 12 weeks didn't get paid for them.
Yeah, right.
Like, this would never fucking happen in Iceland. It would just never happen. None of it. And it's shocking to me that Americans allow it to happen to them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what can you say? I honestly, it's good. It's honestly good to hear stories like this. It's good for women like her to make videos and speak out about this because how it's never gonna change unless people talk about it. Um, man, yeah. I guess to answer her question at the end, like, how do Americans allow this to happen? How do we put up with it? A couple things. We're used to it. We're taught this is normal. We don't know that there's another way. I've started to become a little familiar with there are other healthcare systems like in Europe. It sounds like in Iceland, where the government pays for stuff or taxes, you pay taxes and it covers your healthcare. There are other ways to do it. Americans don't even know about that. We aren't taught about that. We're taught our system is the only system. And it's just the only thing we know. We don't know anything else. So we don't know what to fight for, if that makes sense. We don't Americans we complain. We're like this sucks. We don't know what to change. We don't know what to change it to. We need to learn more about other kinds of healthcare systems. And we need to get our government to understand we want to be like Iceland or something. We want our system to be like this, different, taxpayer funded, or um. But yeah, in the U.S., this is just normal. This is just a common occurrence. Not exactly this story, but there's a million stories like this. I mean, hers was particularly sad to me. To be honest, this was really bad. But there's a lot of stories of people, Americans, not getting help because they don't want to they don't know how much it will cost. They don't know if they can afford it, so they just don't go to the doctor. I used to do that when I was younger. So there are so many problems. This is something we don't talk about nearly enough, and so it's refreshing to see an outside perspective. Like this is she's from Iceland. She has a totally different perspective, and just to hear her talk about her experience in the US and her talk about how this is unacceptable, how it shouldn't be this way, I think more Americans need to hear stuff like this. I totally understand why this would ruin her experience in the US. If she wants to have any more kids, of course she's going back to Iceland. Or if maybe she probably just never wants anything to do with the American healthcare system ever again. For a lot of Americans, it's not an option to leave. So we just accept it because we have no choice. That's the hard answer. That's the answer for why, unfortunately. So, yeah, this was kind of depressing, but important to talk about. She's absolutely right. And it was good to see her story. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on American healthcare in other parts of the world, her story. That'd be really cool to hear about, especially if you're outside the US. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.